Namaste. I'm Farah Nazrali, and I'm delighted to be here in conversation with Glynnis Osher. She is an Ayurvedic practitioner, an author, an educator, and a wellness guide. Glynnis, I'm really excited to have you here and for people to be able to understand and listen to your wisdom that you've gained through studying and teaching Ayurveda and Ayurvedic practices. And I'd like to start by asking you, what is Ayurveda?
Thank you, Farah. I'm so happy to be here with you. This is such a treat, especially at this time of the year as we head into spring. And it's very timely because Ayurveda takes us from season to season. And really, the word Ayurveda is a Sanskrit word that means the wisdom of life. Ayur means life, and Veda, it's the knowledge, the wisdom of life. And this is what the Ayurvedic philosophy and practices are. Ayurveda is all about our wellness in connection to nature, our relationship to nature. It looks at how we are a microcosm of the macrocosm, and that everything that we do and be and are a reflection of everything that is happening in nature around us. And this is why in Ayurveda, our consciousness around nature and relationship to nature is so crucial to our blossoming, to our well-being, to the elevation of our consciousness and our physical body, the health of our physical body, our emotional body, our mental body. Ayurveda looks at our true nature through the lens of the five elements. And so when we look at the five elements, we can start to understand who we are. Because as we see everything in nature changing, the seasons changing, the qualities of the seasons, these are really, really like guides to us. They're our allies, they're our companions. These seasonal guides, these elements are our teachers. And this is Ayurveda.
So important what you said in terms of our connection with ourselves and our true nature and our connection with nature, which both of which seem severed and disordered in our modern lifestyle and modern life. Tell me a little bit about your experience and how it's changed and transformed your own experience of your nature and your relationship with nature.
Thank you for that question because, I think that is the most important question is how each individual is affected. When I began my studies in Ayurveda, I felt like I really never knew myself that well. We go from thing to thing in our life and we sometimes forget who we are, or at least we never really even discovered who we were or are in the sense of our connection to everything around us. So for me personally, I was in a very, very crazy job in New York City, kind of going through the motions of life in a very speedy way. And I came across Ayurveda in a beautiful little yoga studio in New York. And honestly, it was like love at first sight. Every cell in my body exploded in excitement to read the words, to understand these concepts that there is something greater and that we can actually affect the quality of our life and the direction and purpose of our life through a very intentional and very practical daily practice through understanding the principles. And so, this took me on a journey of learning and discovery. It took me through surgeries, certain illnesses that came up, stress through living in a very busy city, and many other things. But honestly, the more I got to understand and learn my own dosha, which is my constitutional makeup, the more excited I became to delve into the practices, which were the daily routines and practices. And honestly, Farah, those have saved my life, changed my life. I'm a different person to when I first started, and it has been many years. But the gift of Ayurveda has really taken me through from, I would say, more of a unconscious existence, even though I've always been drawn to the healing arts and to wellness, to a very graceful, intentional life. And that doesn't mean that, that stuff doesn't come at me or that it's perfect. But that's the whole beauty of it, is that Ayurveda asks you to look every day at what's happening in nature so that you can kind of adjust, you can fine tune, and you can take guidance and comfort and stability and strength from everything that you're seeing and implementing on a day-to-day basis.
So it doesn't eliminate the stressors of the outside world, but it sounds like offers you a set of tools and a way of being that allows you to meet them with grace and ease.
Yes, yes.
So you mentioned the nature in the beginning of your answer about Ayurveda, and it's so appropriate because we're at a time of the seasons changing. And as we come out of winter and move into spring, are there certain practices that Ayurveda recommend at a time of the changing of the seasons?
Yeah, absolutely. And in fact, that is the focus. This idea of doing things the same way every single day, and ignoring the change of the seasons is kind of actually how most people live. Because, in today's world, we can get mangoes in winter, which is lovely and juicy and delicious. But it also means that we're not paying attention to what nature's actually providing in the moment. And and it's not just the food, it's the practices as well. So the qualities of the season shift, from the fall to the winter to the spring now, we start to notice, well, we look outside and we see what's happening with the weather. If there's been snow, we're noticing now in the springtime that this is starting to melt. There's a kind of softening and a quickening at the same time. And so this is reflected in our body. Our body has been accumulating. It's been accumulating toxins from the external environment, what we call sensory impressions that actually have an impact on our well-being. And this could be, watching violent movies before bed or listening to very chaotic music all day and then not having a winding down period. Many external impressions that come at us both visually, through sound, through the five senses, really. And so in the springtime, we have an opportunity to look at nature and see the things melting and notice that we can actually facilitate with ease this melting and elimination in our body as well. So everything that's been accumulating over the fall and winter season, it's time to let it go, just like we do spring cleaning in our house. I mean, this is such a powerful instinct people have, right? You're feeling it. You're feeling nature opening up, the little crocus flowers, the snow is melting, and we want to clean our house. Well, we sometimes forget that our body temple is really the house, the vehicle that carries us around. And in the springtime, we can actually be a catalyst for our own healing by shifting the foods that we eat. So we start eating a little bit more spicy foods like the black peppers and the chilies, the cardamoms, warming, spicy, invigorating. Maybe our yoga practice has become a little bit more aligned with squeezing toxins out of the organs, with moving the breath in the body so that it's not congested and stuck and clogging the channels. It's so beautiful, Farah, because all the practices that Ayurveda has offered are looking at the qualities of the seasons, and we can really let go of anything that we've accumulated, or, by the way, not just the past few seasons, but maybe years, decades. This is, it's a slow, consistent process, and that's the beauty of it. It's not like a one-time wonder, a magic bullet. It's not that we go, oh, we're going to do a spring cleanse now. It's every season we look at what we need to do to facilitate the moving and the flowing of the elements, the doshas within the body. And this is how we affect, harmony.
So, for when I think about spring cleansing our houses and doing some kind of cleanse that really targets the organs and the body tissue and the digestive tissue and reinvigorates our metabolic process and the detoxification, I often think about the things that a person might experience, which might be part of the process that might be unpleasant. Like when we look behind the sofa and we find those dust bunnies, that are gigantic, or we find there's cobwebs in the corners of our ceiling in our room. What are some of the typical things that a person may experience as part of the cleansing process that actually indicate that it's working?
It is a fascination because, as I'm saying, the body is melting things internally, and we're facilitating that with taking these beautiful Ayurvedic herbs that are so intelligent. So what we start to see is our elimination improves. We can actually see sticky toxins. In Ayurveda, we're not afraid to talk about bodily unctions and functions. So we talk about poop and mucus and all of the stuff that actually exits the body. We help it to exit through the herbs, through our practices. We eat a very simple mono meal of khichdi, which is like the Ayurvedic superfood of rice and beans, with ghee, the beautiful clarified butter with the spices and the herbs. And this gives our digestion a rest. It also helps to bring all the toxins to the digestive tract so they can be eliminated. But it is unbelievably beautiful what we start to notice. Our skin starts to soften and get this certain glow about it. Our muscles start to feel stronger and more flexible. Our joints are more flexible. The thing that I mostly notice is the attitude, like your mood really starts to shift. As you release things in your life, in your house, you clean the dust bunnies, everything feels lighter. This is, in Ayurveda, the word sattvic means pure, it means light. And this is what we're actually facilitating with the spring cleanse, is that we feel this lightness starting to come over us. We notice it in our physical well-being. We might lose excess pounds that we've been holding on to, excess thinking that we've been ruminating on. So all of these things, we lighten up. And, the sort of cliche spring in your step is actually a thing when you're doing spring cleaning internally.
It's fascinating, the connection, the deep connection between body and mind, body and spirit, and how certain practices that really target the body have an impact on our attitude and our thoughts, because the connection is so interwoven.
100% interwoven. It's a holistic existence, and it's a holistic science that comes to meet that. Because sometimes we only pay attention to one piece.
So you're offering a spring cleanse, and you have been doing a spring cleanse for many, many years. You now teach and guide people through a spring cleanse. What is the single most significant piece of feedback that students who go through the process offer you?
The most consistent feedback has been about the awareness of how just doing simple practices, even for a short time, 7 to 10 days, is life-changing. I've had so many testimonials with those words, life-changing. And, I don't take those lightly. I really look into that, the meaning behind that, which is that when you start implementing practices, and this is the feedback that I'm getting, is that it's a catalyst for wanting to continue this in your life, to wanting to really commit to changing certain habits. And that's been the big and beautiful feedback, is about changing habits that have not been serving.
Yeah, I often think, of the short term and long term benefits of any conscious practice, yoga or Ayurveda, and how, the short term creates this immediate benefit that really creates an upward spiral. People are so inspired by the experience of it that they recommit to it and they want to go deeper and they want to add more. And it's a really wonderful phenomena.
That is actually everything, is that little bit by bit of commitment and showing up honestly every season between the juncture of winter and spring, and then again between the juncture of summer and fall. So, right at that juncture where the seasons change, we in Ayurveda, we pay attention to the cleansing practices. And, if we commit to doing these practices, not just one time or twice, but every year. And I've been doing spring and a fall cleanse every year for over 20 years. And honestly, Farah, it has been life changing. I will personally am a testimonial to that. And it is all about that consistency, the devotion to doing a daily practice, and then bringing the seasonal spring cleaning and the fall cleanse, which is the fall is more about sort of the mental, the vata, the air and ether elements. Whereas now we're looking at the kapha, the water and earth elements. And so this deepens your self regard. That self regard, that self love that grows, infuses itself into every part of your life. And that's where the self care piece is so powerful, and the consistency.
So I guess the deeper underlying foundation of the daily and seasonal practices is really that it builds this love and regard and respect for our body temple. And that piece which is so missing in modern culture, where there's such a culture of self-hatred or self-doubt or insecurity, or even not having a connection with self because we're so outside of ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. And this is another thing that comes back after people are engaging in this cleanse and these ongoing cleanses and the practices, is that they start to soften that voice of self-criticism. But this has a ripple effect, as all practices do that benefit us, is that they ripple out to everyone around us. And we start actually noticing that relationships start shifting. So it's not just the relationship with ourselves, but we start making a bigger and more beautiful impact in the world around us. And people notice, people really notice and appreciate it. This is part of the practice, is that we are all connected. And so, honestly, from what I've experienced and seen with, family members who are suffering from certain ailments, who really have said to me, I value what you're doing. I see that, and I can see how that would have been beneficial in my life, and how it can be beneficial moving forward. And so really this whole idea of taking very good care of ourselves, we're really here. What our true purpose is for every human on this planet is to raise our consciousness. And we cannot, it is so very, very challenging as it is, but we cannot do that if we are suffering physically and if we're out of touch with who we are, because then the challenge becomes so deep and seemingly impossible, and you become discouraged. And this is where lack of peace and harmony, where violence and aggression, all of these emotions that infuse themselves out start to permeate, is when we forget that we are here to raise our consciousness, and that these beautiful Ayurvedic practices, truthfully, have been designed especially for that purpose.
So there's not only the benefit to our own health and longevity and vitality, but also the deeper sense of allowing us to fulfill our life purpose, and our life purpose as it relates to ourselves and the relationships we're in and the world that we're in.
Yes, it's all that.
Glynnis, it's been so wonderful to have this conversation about Ayurveda, about cleansing, and about really connecting with something deeper inside of us that is so essential to our health and well-being. I really look forward to participating in the cleanse myself. It will be my first Ayurvedic cleanse, and I'm so grateful to have you as my guide. And I hope that many others will be inspired to join us on March 21st for this wonderful practice.
Thank you, Farah. And I feel completely blessed. It's always such an incredible pleasure speaking with you. And I feel so excited that you are going to be participating and offering your beautiful practice to this cleanse, because Ayurveda and yoga are sister sciences. They belong on this journey with us together. They are both a support and a healing and a beauty that honestly can shift so much and turn things around in the most exquisite way. So thank you. And I am really excited to begin this cleanse myself as well. And every year I go deeper. Now with your yoga practices included in this beautiful 7-day cleanse, I believe that everyone who participates is going to go to the next level. So I'm excited, and thank you.
It's been such a pleasure and delight to speak. And for those of you who would like to join, pay attention to the website, and we hope that you will.